I don't even know what to say right now, guys. Literally, I got nothing. Seriously, that was by far the most shocking episode of The Walking Dead ever. And I read somebody say that it was the most shocking episode of The Walking Dead ever. That's going to be my review for this mid-season premiere of The Walking Dead, and holy shit, guys, what the fuck happened on this episode? Literally, what just happened? This episode was so much different than any other Walking Dead episode ever. Any other Walking Dead episode, but it was a beautiful episode. This was by far the best episode of the season, and literally, we just had another death, and someone else die in this episode. We just had Beth die, and now we had another death, and I'm not going to say who it is till the end of the episode, but holy shit, this episode was amazing. Perfect send-off for... I'm just, we all know Tyreese died. Perfect send-off for Tyreese. Just amazing episode. Let's just get into it. Now, this episode was very different than any other Walking Dead episode because one of the things that the Walking Dead creators like to do is they like to take the premieres and completely change up the style of the show. This episode sometimes felt like it was very repetitive. Sometimes felt like you were on drugs. Like, seriously, you didn't know what was going on. It was like mind fucking. So it starts out with just digging, and Maggie's crying, and others are crying. The group's at a funeral sermon led by Father Gabriel. They're giving a nice funeral to Beth. And we see flashes across the screen of previous location, prison, Woodbury, where the group has lived in the apocalypse and people they have lost. And Rick is trying to convince the group to go on the lawn trip to Richmond, describing how safe it allegedly is. And then we see Lizzie and Mika randomly. And basically they say it's better now. And we eventually realize who they're talking to. But at this point, I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? What's better now? Like, at this point, I had no idea what they meant by it's better now. We find out later who they're talking to. But at this point, it's like, who are they talking to? So... the group travels through South Carolina, speaking on walkie-talkies. Rick tells Carol they're halfway there. Carol and Rick agree they're due for the easy part of the trip. Rick and Tyreese, Noah and Tyreese discuss the trade, and Tyreese doesn't want to face what's going on. Also, the group is separated right now because a bunch of them are at the funeral, and Rick, Tyreese, Glenn, Noah, and who else was there? Michonne. They have gone out to they have gone on their own little mission, basically. So Tyreese doesn't want to face what's going on and speaks about how his father told him how important it is to keep up with news and current events, no matter how far away or horrible. His dad called this awareness the high cost of living, and Noah has family in Richmond, at least he hopes, and Rick tells Tyreese to pull over. The group will continue on foot to be careful, and Rick and company leave their truck with other abandoned cars, hoping they'll blend in with the wreck to any passersby. And as they travel through the woods, they come across and maneuver through some cables, and Noah nicks his forehead on it, and Glenn spots Shire welts, and the group moves from the woods to the road, and Noah nicks his forehead on it, and Glenn spots Shirewood, and basically the group moves from the woods to the road, and they pass a broken grandfather clock and arrive at a lock gate. And Glenn takes the initiative climbing up to see what's inside, because of course, they want to see what's inside here. And he shakes his head, and Noah climbs up to over to the other side, followed by everyone else. And Noah starts to run. Rick chases. There are bodies in the street and dirty abandoned cars. Wolves not fear. It is in graffiti on bricks in the neighborhood. The group huddles near a sobbing Noah, and obviously Noah is very broken right now. He just lost his best friend. Beth was his best friend. Beth was the one who convinced him to, rebel against the hospital, and just, he loved Beth. Beth was his best friend, and just, it's so sad to see that. So Rick wants to head back, but Michonne says, then what? And Glenn suggests a quick sweep of the area. Tyreese stays with Noah, and Rick tells Carol they made it, but the neighborhood has fallen, and Michonne stomps a shirt out of a frame. Rick and Glenn discuss Beth's death and whether or not Dawn wanted to kill her at all. Me personally, I don't think Dawn wanted to kill her. I think Dawn killed her because it was a justified killing, because that's what you should do if somebody kills you, because it's justified. And Rick admits how he wanted to kill Dawn, and the trip to Wiltshire was for Beth, who wanted Noah to get here. That's what it was for. The whole point to go there was for Beth, and basically, regardless of whether or not he thought it would still be there, That's why they're here, because they were going to do it for Beth. So they're doing it anyway because they want to do it in Beth's memory, and it's very sad to see that. And then we get a very touching scene. Just this scene, just Chad Coleman and Tyler James Williams were amazing in this scene. Noah continues crying. Tyreese tells Noah a story about continuing what times are tough. If he had given up, he would not have been able to save Judith and return her to her father. And basically, he tells Noah this is not the end. And Noah rises up beside Tyreese and starts off in a hurry down the street. And I like seeing it because, I mean, Tyreese really has become the savior of the group. He saved everyone. I mean, he saved Judith. He's become sort of like a secondary father to Judith, even though Rick's there. He's been helping out Judith. He saved Carol. Like, he saved a lot of people. And I like that he's telling Noah this isn't the end. But Noah's not exactly sure. And a lot of this episode is us trying to figure out, can this group still survive? Is there hope? Is there safety? Like, it really shows that in this episode. And I definitely like this episode question. That's why this episode is called What's Happened and What's Going On, because it's like, well, where do we go from here? So I like seeing that in this episode. So Glenn and Rick discuss the honors of Terminus, and again, the crazy guy in the container, Glenn says things were okay since he got Maggie back, and this was really sad to see what Glenn said here, because when he got Maggie back, he thought everything was going to be okay. He thought Terminus was their safe haven, and he thought everything was going to be okay there, but then, losing Washington and losing Beth after finding out she was alive, he would shoot people responsible. He would have shot people responsible for their difficulties, captures, or murders, and he really regrets this. And I like what Michonne says then, that they need to stop worrying, stop reflecting on what's happening, stop thinking of what you could have done, and focus more on what's actually going on. And I like that Michonne said that to them, because honestly, it's true. They need to focus more on what's happening, not what they could have done, not what the possibilities were. Like, you need to focus on what actually is going on, because that's what's important right now, not what you could have done. What's actually going on, that's what's important. So I like Michonne saying that to them. So Noah tries to enter his house, but Tyreese advises against it. He'll go first, and Tyreese knocks a few times, then heads inside, and Noah's following, and a body with a chunk of its head missing lays on the living room floor, and Noah stares and approaches slowly, and the house is a mess. Literally, it's a giant mess, and Noah takes a blanket from the floor, covers the body. Tyreese hears a voice, ventures off down the hallway, and Walker's gas come from behind. And this scene was absolutely insane what happened here. And basically, Walker's gas come from behind a door, and Tyreese finds a dead child in its bed, but his attention is grabbed by photos on the wall. And these are photos of, and this was really sad to see, these are photos of young Noah and his brother, and it was very sad to see that. A walker approaches from behind and sneaks up on Tyreese. Tyreese hears the walker and turns around, but the walker bites Tyreese's arm, and Noah uses a toy airplane to kill the walker. And the second that walker bit Tyreese's arm, I'm like, Tyreese is going to die, because I heard that somebody died in this episode, and I didn't believe it. I didn't believe that someone actually died. I was like, no, they're not going to kill somebody after they just killed Beth. That's a huge death. But then I'm like, you know what? Tyreese could die. They're focusing on Tyreese, and when they focus on a character so much, they're going to die. That's how it is in this show. When you focus on a character as much as they did in this episode, because literally, so far the whole episode was basically Tyreese-centric. A lot of this episode was Tyreese-centric. And eventually you realize that the reason you keep seeing the same things over and over again is because it's in Tyreese's point of view, but I'll get to that. But what I do want to say about this that I found very interesting is that I knew that Tyreese was going to die. There were certain reasons how I knew Tyreese was going to die, and it was amazing to see this. It was amazing to see how this whole episode happened. But there's a flashback to a news report of random violence along the countryside, and back to the present. Tyreese is bleeding from his arm, and Martin, the guy from the cabin in Terminus, appears, and of course, that was the guy that told Tyreese, something bad's going to happen to you. You know, he told him that this was going to happen. He needs to ponder what would have happened if Tyreese killed him, or he hadn't told Gareth about their presence at all. And he ponders the idea, Tyreese not being bitten. And then we see Bob appearing, and at this point I'm thinking, okay, two things could happen now. Either Tyreese is hallucinating and he's regretting what he did, or he's slowly dying. That's what I thought, because everyone we see, these are all people that have died that Tyreese knew, or Tyreese was close, where there's something happened with Tyreese that he still feels bad about. So this scene was just amazing. Such a well done scene. Bob appears saying that getting bitten was what he had to what had to happen, and the news report comes back on the radio reporting on fires and violence, and the governor is there. The governor is back, and when we saw the governor, I was like, oh my god, the governor. The governor talks about how the bill has to be paid. You have to earn, you keep, like Tyreese told him, and then we see Lizzie and Mika, and this is why we saw Lizzie and Mika before, because now they're talking to Tyreese, and I think the reason we saw Lizzie and Mika, now we can tell that Tyreese dying, but I think the person that Lizzie and Mika were talking to was Beth. I think that's who they were talking to in the beginning, of how they're like, oh, it's all gonna be okay now, because, you know, Beth just died, and Beth is, you know, here too. We eventually see Beth. I'll talk about that. Basically, they appear telling Tyreese it's better now, and everyone keeps saying in this episode that it's better. You're gonna be okay now. You're safe now. And the governor turns into a walker, approaches Tyreese. Tyreese rises to fight him, goes for his hammer, but drops it. And literally at this point, I'm like, he's hallucinating. There's no way he's actually seeing them. He deflects the walker, but gets pinned against a bookshelf with the walker's teeth clenching in front of him, latching onto his arm. Tyreese uses an object from the bookcase to kill the walker, and then collapses and hides under a desk. And the walker's blood drips on the picture of the house, and that is why we saw that in the opening scene. And that is so well done. I love that they did that, because I would never suspected that. I love the way they did that scene. Just the way they revealed things to you was so different. The way that Greg Nicotero decided to do this episode, I mean, he always does the best episodes of the show. He really does. Everyone says he does the best episodes, and I have to agree. He really does do some of the best episodes of this entire show, because the way he constructed this episode was just amazing. The way he did it was just so well done. I love the way he did this episode, because it's so mysterious. It was so mysterious. You had no idea what was going on. I think the way he portrayed everything was just perfect. So, Rick and Michonne discuss making the neighborhood work. Michonne suggests walls built from the trees that then leads them down the road. She finds sliced up corpses in the grass behind a broken wall at the edge of the woods, and the three of them look at the corpses and evaluate the walls, and Glenn says it doesn't matter if Rick killed Dawn, insinuating she would have died anyway, which she probably would have, because, I mean, Dawn was an idiot. She really was. She thought they were going to be safe. I mean, she thought all this bullshit that wasn't going to happen to them, so Dawn would have probably died anyway. I definitely do agree with, you know, Glenn saying that. It's true. So she suggests the group continue on toward Washington because they might be safe there, which would be better than roaming and just making it. And walkers start to emerge from the woods, and Rick agrees to go. It's 100 miles away, and since it's 100 miles away, it should be fine. So Noah cries out for help. The group hustles to assist. Glenn takes out one walker out with a bat, and Michonne swings her sword at one, because of course Noah said that he'd help Tyreese in some way, and we didn't know what was happening, but basically it has one metal sticking out of his shoulder, and she can't slice its head off and drops her sword. Rick frees Noah, then aids Michonne and kills the walker. So, basically you can tell that it's about to get insane. So Beth plays the guitar, and the second we saw Beth, I almost cried. I was like this close to crying, because Beth just died, and this is giving us proper closure to the character, and the way they did it was just so well done. And again, it gave us very good closure to her character, and you just felt so bad for what was going on here. You hear sounds of Judith's cries echoing the flashes of the prison, and Judith pictures on the wall and sunlight through a window. Tyreese is sweating and struggling under the desk, and Beth tells Tyreese, Beth is like, it's okay, Tyreese, you gotta know that now. And Bob tells Tyreese it's okay, you didn't want to be a part of it anymore. Martin tells him being a part of it is being now. And Lisa and Mika and Lizzie and Mika insist that it's better now. They keep saying that, and just every time they say it, I'm like, he's gonna die. Like, literally, he's gonna die. And the governor tells Tyreese his eyes were open, but he didn't want to see. And Tyreese still didn't adapt or change. And he tells Tyreese it's weak to forgive someone for killing a woman he loved. And I love that they mentioned that, because now I'm thinking that, okay, now he's only seeing these people because he regrets, forgiving Carol. And Bob says that's all there is, and Tyreese struggles to stand up. The room is filled with dead characters, and he says he knows who he is, he knows what happened, he didn't show him shit, and he tells the governor everything that he was is dead, and they forgave Carol because it's not over. And I always have loved that about Tyreese. He's always had that attitude that's not over, and he's always had such a great can-do attitude. That's why Tyreese has very slowly become my favorite character on the show. I've talked about this. Tyreese this season has just been probably become my favorite character. He's just such a well-done character because he's the one that has that can-do attitude of it's not over and wants to continue. It doesn't want the group to suffer, and I love that about his character. And he's saying, I didn't turn away. I kept listening to the news so I could do what I could to help. I'm not giving up. You hear me? I'm not giving up. People like me, they can't live. Ain't nobody gonna die today. And his consciousness is fading as he's saying this, Definitely, I think this is what he's thinking in his head. That's why he's seeing this, because this is what he's thinking in his head. And the governor's now in front of projectors with roads on them, and he tells Tyreese, you have to pay the bill, pushes him down. Tyreese looks around, life fading from him. Lizzie and Mika raise, evaluate his arm. Flash, and basically, the second that happens, we see Rick pulling on Tyreese's hand, yelling, hold it, and Michonne slices his arm off. They carry him out of the neighborhood. They arrive at the gate, and just the second we saw it, I'm like, okay, maybe he's not going to die. Because, they chopped off his arm. That's where he was bitten by the walker. So maybe everything could be fine, because, if you're bitten by a walker, you turn into a walker. The part he was bitten at was chopped off, so I was thinking, okay, maybe he's not going to die. Maybe he's just going to have his arm cut off. Maybe that's what's going to happen. But I didn't really know. I didn't know what was going to happen there. And definitely that was very interesting, the way they did that. So Michonne slices his arm off, they carry him out of the neighborhood, and they arrive at the gate, and Rick and Glenn open the gate and dispense of a horde incoming walkers. Noah attends to Tyreese, and this whole scene, I love, it's in Tyrese's point of view. It's so awesome to see. He watches the walkers get picked off, flash of the little girls appear, and Rick helps Tyreese up, carries him out, and the memory of Martin is flashing, then the church massacre, then the governor, and it's just such a well-done scene. It's showing everything that they've been through, and the group continues to carry Tyreese through the cable and through the cabin in the woods, and back in the room. Bob says it went the way it had to, was always going to. Tyreese is fading in the woods, but the group carries him back the way they came. And when this happened, I'm like, he's going to die, because they're playing this music, this whole time they're playing this very eerie music. I'm like, there's no way he's going to make it. He's going to die. This is just showing that he's going to die. And they put his helpless body in the truck. Rick calls Carol with instructions on how to prepare for Tyreese. The truck is temporarily stuck in the dirt, and then gets its footing and launches forward into one of the abandoned cars, which erupts with walker parts. The radio continues with victories by rebel forces and destruction of villages and prisoners, and Tyreese says to turn it off, and Bob turns around from the front seat, and Beth and the girls are sitting beside him, still encouraging that it's better now. They're ready for him to join them, and you can tell he's going to die. Tyreese lays with his head on the window, looking at the sun. It's the flash from earlier. And Rick and all of them, they're doing whatever they can to make sure that he does not die, but it's just too late. He's been bitten. He's going to die now, and that's just how it is. He's been poisoned. And the car stops on the road. Rick, Michonne, and Noah get out. Rick pulls Tyreese, now lifeless body, out, lays him on the ground, kneels down to check for a sign of life, and then stands up in anger. Tyreese is covered in a sheet, and I thought that's how the episode was going to end. However, just the whole scene was so hard to watch, because, they just killed off my favorite character. They did. And this is a show where they're going to kill off your favorite character. That's how they do it, but just, oh my god, I never thought that they would kill two major characters in two back-to-back episodes. Literally, you come back, Beth's dead, and now then they come back and they kill Tyreese. Like, seriously, this is insane the way the show is going. But it really shows that this show is just taking so many risks, and I love that about the show. I've always loved that about The Walking Dead. Basically, the shovel digs in the ground, and this is the first scene in the episode, and we realize that the speech that Father Gabriel was giving was not for Beth. It was for Tyreese. That's who they were burying, and he's now buried. Sasha pours out one last shovel full of dirt. The group leaves. Rick starts shoveling dirt to fill in Tyrese's grave. Tyrese's hat hangs on a cross made of sticks. Digging sounds play as the end credits roll, and that was basically the end of the episode. And oh my god, guys, oh my god, such a well done episode. By far one of the best send-offs for a character they have ever done. Such a sad episode. I went on to comicbook.com today, and that's where I recap the episodes and everything, but they did a review, a non-spoiler review, and they said, be prepared, this is the most shocking episode of The Walking Dead ever. And I'm like, yeah, right, there's no way this is going to be that shocking. This was fucking shocking. They killed off Tyreese in this episode, and I'm shocked out of my mind. Think about it. They just killed Beth, and then they killed Tyreese. It really shows that the show isn't afraid to take any risks, and I love that about the show. But at the same time, they just killed Beth, and now they killed Tyreese, and it's just insane that they did that. But I love the show did that as well. I love the risks that the show is willing to take, and I'm never going to forget Tyreese. Obviously, he was such a well-done character. Definitely, I might even watch Talking Dead tonight because I think he's going to be on there, and I loved his character. One of the things I have to say about this episode that I absolutely loved was the way they just handled things. This was such a different episode from the rest of the show. It was much more artsy and not as action-packed, and I liked about the show. I like the show is getting a lot more artsy, and it's very interesting. It's actually turning into more of an indie show, which I like. It's very stylized in this episode. I mean, they kept every time the commercials came back, they'd show the radio, they'd show Noah's picture, they'd show like this weird like cinematography. Cinematography, this might be the best cinematography The Walking Dead has ever done, and I absolutely loved it. I think the cinematography was just gorgeous in this episode, and I absolutely love that about this episode as well. But this episode doesn't really give us much question because the episode's more about is there really such thing as a safe haven? Is it true that it's safe? And I mean, the whole thing with Washington is going to be interesting because, I mean, Rick is saying that they should go, saying that, you know, even though Eugene chose it for a reason. I definitely find that very interesting that we saw that. And so my question is, are they going to get to Washington? It looks like in the next episode, they're literally walking to Washington. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Definitely that's where they're going because Rick said they're heading to Washington, so I definitely feel like their next step is Washington. But as I've said before, I don't think Washington is any different than any other place they've been. I don't think Washington is safe. I don't think Washington ever was safe. I think they think that it's safe, but I doubt that the Washington is actually safe. Can you imagine how it would be if Washington's actually safe? There's no way Washington is actually safe. This is The Walking Dead, for crying out loud. There's no way it's safe. I'm sorry, but there's not. It just seems too predictable that it's safe. Definitely, we're getting to a point in the show where there is no such thing as safety. But the thing that there is hope. That's what Tyreese had, was he had hope. And that's what I loved about Tyrese's character, was he never lost that hope. He always had that hope with him. And this episode just showed that even though he died, he always had that hope, and he still even had that hope moments before he died. And seeing all those characters again, this was a great send-off to Beth. I think that this episode also sent off to Beth perfectly, because, I mean, we're still dealing with the death of Beth, and I think the way they handled that in this episode was also very well done. Lizzie and Mika, great to see them again, great to see the governor again, great to see Bob again. But who's going to die next? Because I really feel like now they're just going to keep killing off characters. And if they do that, I'm not going to like that, but definitely I feel like another death is coming, because if they can kill off a character in the mid-season premiere, they're going to kill off another character before the finale, definitely. I definitely feel like it's going to happen, and I mean, they kind of have to do that, because, I mean, the group is so big now, and the cast is so big, you can't focus on everyone. And some people are getting tired of the split group thing, so in order for them to stop focusing so much on those groups, what they need to do now is focus on the entire group, because the group is reunited now, but it's not exactly a good thing, which I like. I like that just because the group is reunited, it's not exactly a good thing, and I liked about the show. I like the show is doing that. I think it's very well done that they're doing that. But overall, guys, I loved this premiere. By far the best episode of the season. Such a well-done episode. Not even too much happened except Tyreese died. That's all that really happened in this episode. But it was still such a well-done episode. It's so much more of a what's going to happen in the rest of the season episode. And I loved about the episode. But that's it for my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. And I can't wait for my next review. My next review you guys are definitely going to want to stick around for. My next review will be for the series premiere of Better Call Saul. So I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye. Also, let me know what you guys thought of Tyrese's death, how they handled that and everything, and I really want to know about that, so I'll see you guys in my next video. Okay, bye.